Here we are again. ZDTV
Hey, Clint.
time. Hi, Ken. How are you?
I'm doing great.
I'm
Hope you
glad to
are.
hear that. I'm doing all right. It's a nice day here in Western New York. So
I'm excited to
today,
learn some Go.
I hopefully I can teach you some Go because you never know. Hopefully today we're going to do some interesting stuff where we're going to add a small feature to the ZDCLI which would allow it to basically detect when there's a newer version available. You see that sort of feature on other apps, I guess, CLIs, whatever you want to call it. And
hmm
so Ken had dutifully filed a issue on the ZD repo and then had decided to well, he filed the issue and I said, hey, that seems like a good idea. In fact, it looks like you're almost on the issue there.
Yeah, I was going
I
to see if I
said
could find it.
I said that sounded like a good idea, and other people in the team said that sounds like a good idea. So here we are. We're going to go and give it a roll, see what happens. Let's see. I'm sure I could find it if you need me to find it, but
It
it
was just a
was
request for the ZD CLI to say, "Hey, there's a new version available," so that whenever I'm using it, I'll be able to notice. And it seemed like a good opportunity to.
you are
Um,
in the Tunneler SDKC branch.
oh
So
yeah, it needs to be the Go SDK.
yeah, well, no, it's ZD. I'm pretty sure you put it on
Just
straight
as
ZD.
I think you're right.
Yep.
Go upgrade
There
message.
you
So we're going
go.
to do this
Just
one
like that.
today, right here.
That's the one.
And I got this idea because I was running the Kubernetes ops CLI, and it does this.
Yep.
And it just seems
So
like that would be so useful to say exactly where to get the next version from.
yeah, and I wonder exactly how often it should run. Like doing this is not free, right? You're going to have to make some sort of web request to some API. It will then have to return a response and then indicate whether or not there's an upgrade available. You didn't have to ask for this to do this feature, right? It just does it.
No, I stumbled upon this without even realizing it was in there, running cops.
Yep.
And so it must just run occasionally or every time that you
Uh,
invoke the CLI.
Well, I mean, it is Kubernetes, which is going to be open source. One of the things I was going to say is we could literally go there, try to
Oh, yeah.
find, try to find how they do it, and then decide whether or not it is simple.
Yeah,
Um,
true.
GitHub has a really nice feature of searching the repository. So if you go, yeah, did you make it? Yeah, yeah. So in the search right there, I I would look for upgrading is recommended.
All right. I think I'm in the right repo here.
Yeah, I think so.
Am I searching the right place? Yeah.
That's the
So
yep,
if I just,
and
once
then
I type in a
paste, and then see how it
string
says in this
and then in this
repository?
repo,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
might have to put it in quotes to find those words back to back. That works.
There you go. All right, go ahead and
So
click
it's
on that, and now we can search in this file for that same string. So I would have expected it to bring it right there. Okay, so there you go.
there are two occurrences.
So does it?
So
I
there's
I would imagine it's the recommended Boolean.
validate cops version, and then there's another function,
And so, okay, just so
apply
I'm
cluster command.
yeah, just so I'm aware, and so any of our viewers are aware, how much coding experience would you consider that you have? You are
With
fluent in
Go,
Python? No, just in general.
yes, I'm fluent with Python and background in Linux systems. So I've uh, dabbled extensively in the past with Perl also. And of course, I use Shell every day.
Yep. Okay. So
So those would
functions
be my
aren't really
strongest languages. Yeah.
terribly. Yeah, yeah. Cool. All right. So what and then you know what booleans and all that stuff are. That's great. So if you go
Yes.
back and find where you were again, what I was looking at in that string um, was the recommended. It's not a boolean because you can see on line 978 right here because it's testing if that thing is nil. I I would doubt that it is a boolean. It's probably some sort of structure. So Go has the idea of a struct, which is similar to what C has. I am unfamiliar with both Perl and Python. I can read a bit of Python, but um, I don't know if Python is object oriented or if it's not object oriented. I know that it's mostly an interpreted
Well, you don't have
language, but
to necessarily translate from Python specifically. I mean,
no, I
I
know, but there's the
understand the
idea
general
of
concepts.
so like object oriented programming is different. C is not object oriented, for example. You
Right.
create a structure to hold some memory, and that's what this recommended thing looks like to me because it is not
Okay.
nil. It's testing it for not nil, so it doesn't seem like it's some sort of primitive. Otherwise, it would just be if recommended. But what I was looking for in here is where is recommended actually declared,
Okay.
which I
We might
think
have
is
to
just
get it
just
into the
scroll up just
IDE
a
to do like really
no, no, no,
powerful
just scroll up a
searching.
tiny bit. Just scroll I
Okay.
saw it right here,
There we go.
right there, yeah. So you see recommend in Go has this syntax, which is, terse. So every function in Go can return 0 or more arguments. And in this case, you can see this function is returning 2 responses. It is returning the recommended as well as this error thing, which is a pattern that you'll see
Right.
everywhere in Go. And gets lots of hate for this pattern because these 4
Thing,
lines of
comma,
code,
thing equals.
well, thing comma error. And then also notice that
Okay.
in Go is type inferenced. So you have colon equals there. That means
Hmm.
the recommended variable has never been seen before, or error. It says one of these two things has never been seen before, and this is the first time you are assigning it. So
So
if
this
you
is the
were
same as declaring it.
exactly, it does both declare it and assign it in the same line. You optionally could do something like var recommended and then
Hmm.
choose some kind of type to put on that recommended. But here, because of type inference, you'll know that find recommended upgrade is going to return some sort of structure for you. So in GitHub here, you should be able to click or probably click on find recommended upgrade online. Yeah, if you just click on that
Yeah,
and you'll
yeah. Go
see,
straight to
and
the
then
definition.
yeah, now there are two of them here. One is for the Kubernetes version spec, and one is for the COPS version spec. So Go has this notation where you can basically glue a function onto a structure type. And that's what this is telling you. This is saying there's a struct out there that is of type Kubernetes version spec. And
Right.
you can see this is a pointer because it has a star at the front of it, and a
Okay.
pointer is not the same as a non-pointer. So so there are two different types. Both of those two different types have a function declared upon them called the find recommended upgrade, and
Right.
they both take the same parameters. So there's a good chance this
Hmm.
is just totally copied and pasted code. So we don't know what type are we in right here. We need to know which of those two to go to. So if in your ID, well not IDE, can we scroll up just a scooch and see if it's clear what version info is? Okay, so version info is a Kubernetes version spec. You can basically infer that by the function name. Okay, so if we go down, you see what
That
I'm
makes
saying?
sense.
Yeah, all right. So on line 968 again, if you click on that find recommended upgrade, we know we want to go to the Kubernetes version spec version, which is the top one. We're going to click on that.
So hopefully if I click here, it'll take me to the definition of this one.
Presumably, let's find out.
Yes.
All right, cool.
Yep, we've
And
got it.
so and so here you can see it is checking to see if the recommended version's been set before, and if it hasn't, or if it's empty, then it's going to say didn't specify a recommended version, and then it's going to do the
Hmm.
parsing of the version, and then where is it fetching the version? That's what we're looking for in here.
Parse
Recommended.
version.
So that looks like
There's a
that to
util
me makes
class
it,
with a.
yeah, that looks like it's going to read your version from the executable itself. That would be my guess. But the one that I was looking for here is I think it's the GT. Like that seems like get version. See what I mean by GT? But you can also tell on line 163 right here. It says, yeah, don't go there just yet.
Okay.
Line 63, 163 says recommended version equals blank, have blank recommending upgrade. Is
Sure, that's
that
a formatting template.
yeah. Is that what spits out when you see like if you were to look at the first tab in your browser here, back on the ZD tab, is this the words that spit out? Recommended version equals?
Huh. Actually, it doesn't look like a formatting template. It's almost like it's feeding variables as input.
So it is a
I'll go back
formatting
to the
template. Yeah,
see, trying to type the word cops. Um, well, let's go back to our
yeah, click on that first tab.
issue.
Like,
This is
yeah,
because this has the verbatim text.
right. A new cops version is available. More information. Okay, so not neither of those things actually popped out, which is interesting. Go
Well, we
go ahead
found
and
that string. That's how we got started. Was we found that string where
yeah,
it's
but I
where the
was
formatting is occurring.
yeah, if you go back to the second tab there, so that I imagine is spread out to standard out as opposed to the logging framework. So here you can see on line 163, this is going to the Klog, however the Klog is set up, which I assume is some logger, and it's probably the version 2 of the logger is what I would expect. And then it's writing an info statement. So in your log statements, so in your log, there should be an info at this level.
Mm,
And so this is a
right,
template. You see the string specifies the template, and then every percent in there is a replacement. So when you issue
right,
info F, it will take the recommended version and plop it into that first percent queue, and then the version into the
right.
second percent queue. Um, so what I was looking for was to see if they were actually performing any kind of HTTP request at that point, though. I didn't see one.
Mm. No, I didn't see one either.
So take a look. Let's take a look at that GT because I think that actually, and let's see the return. Oh yeah.
It would be
Also
this
notice.
value, recommended version. It's getting that from somewhere.
Well, also notice line 164. So
Okay.
online, what I looked at right here was line 167, and I saw that it returns nil and nil. And so in Go, you can always return a nil. It's relatively safe to do that sort of stuff. And everybody tests for nil. Particularly, it's very safe here because you're returning a nil error. That second return response indicates the error that you're returning. And so if you return a nil error, people would assume that you're not returning a nil here, or that the nil that you're returning is acceptable to be returned, right?
Let me
In
see
the
if I've
first,
got that right.
yeah.
So we're defining a function, and in Go, you always return. There's a pattern anyway of returning both the sort of like the analogous standard error, standard out, standard error. So and that's typically and that's represented as thing comma thing, whether it's a return statement or an assignment to the output of a function, thing comma thing. Where the
Well,
second thing is usually the error, or always the
uh,
error.
not usually, and not always. I would say the final thing in the tuple is is often the error. Like that will be what you see is the final thing in that tuple as the error. It's I would say it would be weird to see an error somewhere else, but you don't have to. Like you could absolutely return the error first. It's just
What I'm
not
saying is that it's a convention, like as a Go pattern to
it is.
return the like the standard out first and then the standard error. But if I had defined this function with thing comma thing, like a thruple, three-part tuple, then I would need when I assigned a, a list of variables to the output, I would need to have three
You would
to
definitely
get
need to
all
return
three.
3, otherwise
But
it
it's
won't compile.
arbitrary. It just needs to
Yeah,
map.
yeah. And it doesn't have to be 1, it could be 0, right? Like, you don't have to return anything. You could choose to only return an error. You could choose to return a
Sure.
value and an error like they're doing here. But what
Mhm.
I triggered on is what line 167 is returning nil and
Okay.
nil, which means this is not an exceptional scenario, and there is no value that was returned that is important. So then I looked at line 164. Line 164 is returning the recommended version, which means it must have been fetched at some point. So what sets the recommended version? That's actually back at that parse Kubernetes version function up on line 158.
I see it.
And so that's the recommended version, which is interesting. So let's where did v.version come from? That is actually passed into this find recommended upgrade. Very interesting. I don't know how far we want to go down this path. Like, I
It
think,
seems like there are layers.
yeah, I mean, like, I think what we should do is just do the whole same idea, but let's just go back and slap it into Ziti so you can go into your IDE and actually, actually do it.
I'm fine either way, either going farther down this road or going back to the IDE. But what would I do if I went right back to my IDE? You say slap it in? Clint, hello.
I have turned myself off. I really wanted to
Ah.
only disable my camera, but foolish me, I put myself backstage. Um,
There is a button
yeah, no, I got it.
near the center. There you
I
go.
got
Okay.
I got it. I got it.
All right.
I forgot how to do this. So
No
what I was
problem.
saying is we should just go ahead and try to add it to ZD and just go for it. And so let's go
All
ahead and
right.
go back to our IDE, and I can see you've already downloaded the Golang portion of the ZD project. I would probably think that we would need the ZD runtime itself. Like
Okay.
you were specifically, well, were you trying to say run a ZD CLI command like say ZD Edge Policy Advisor? What
It was
was it?
ZD Tunnel.
ZD Tunnel. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
ZD Tunnel is also built from that same ZD repository. So let's go ahead and open just the ZD repository for now, anyway.
Alrighty.
And then when you're in there, we're going to go into I think it's command ZD. Don't exactly remember.
All right. I've got both of those folders added to my workspace
All right,
now.
cool.
I
So
should probably make sure that I'm not on some weird branch in here. I am on a weird branch in here. So while you're talking, I'll just get that switched over to main, or I'll go ahead and create a branch if
you
we're
want to
going to
do
be
release
going back.
next. So the way
Okay,
the
release
ZD
next.
project works is with release next.
Alrighty.
Okay, so once you're on release next, you're going to want to pull also so that you're up to the latest and greatest.
Alrighty.
Yeah, there we go. And then make sure it's up to date. Your branch is up to date. Okay, cool. Now let's go ahead and go back into your IDE. How did it find changes if it was up to date?
It wasn't yet.
Well, it said right there your branch is up to date. Oh, that's well, yeah. I don't know.
Um,
I would have thought that it would have said that it was not up to date.
I suspect it had not yet fetched because I got this little arrow on my
Oh yeah,
prompt,
you're right.
which I've got like automated fetching going on
Yep,
in the
you're right.
background, so it probably did that afterwards.
All right, so now let's go ahead and go back into the IDE and open up the ZD tunnel folder inside of ZD,
Okay.
and then find the command CMD, and then subcommand, and then those are the subcommands that are available to you when you run the ZD tunnel, and you'll see the
Right.
main.go. Go ahead and look at the main.go. All the ZD
Right.
uses this Cobra command library. It's really nice for building CLI applications themselves. But you can see here, it also, as I recall, the ZD CLI does some stuff I don't particularly find intuitive, which is um, each of those packages that you are importing there on lines 19 through 24, they have the opportunity to have an init function inside of them, just like you see on
Okay.
line 26 to 28. And so
Hmm.
sometimes what you'll see is you'll see somebody import a package and then reference it with an underscore. In Go, an underscore means, yeah, I don't care. So oftentimes you'll see an underscore used to import a package only for, as it's referred to as, the side effects, which means if there's an init function inside that package, it's going to run that init function. So inside of that ZD tunnel sub command folder that we have on the left, or wherever you want to find it, you'll see, let's say, the version command. Let's open the version command.
Before we leave, you mentioned one thing I don't see. I'm get the Cobra command. Is that like a library? I don't see it imported here.
I don't see it imported either. Where is
Is that
subcommands?
subcommand?
Well, the subcommands themselves are going to be Cobra commands. So go ahead and open up that version.go.
Okay. This is one of the subcommands on the tunneler CLI.
Yeah, and now you'll see SPF 13 Cobra,
Yep, I
which
do.
is that is the Cobra command library. And you'll see
Okay.
how this is set up. And you'll see where I was referring to before, the kind of, I find it a little bit confusing, the way this command registers itself to the root command. So you'll see root.add command on line 26 right there. And then
Yes.
it adds this version command that it's just set up right here, right?
And
So
this
this
is where
is
it's defined. Okay.
yeah, and this is a super simple command. All it does is one thing, line 33. It doesn't even defer to any other functions. It just prints out its version.
Okay.
So that's the kind of like the nuts and bolts of how that command was added to the main command, which is defined as root. You also don't see root in here anywhere. So if
How
it were
about we
me,
add a check update subcommand?
you could. However, I thought that the intention is for it to trigger every time one of these commands are run. Like
Well, that
I
seems
would,
fine with me, but you seemed concerned about it checking every
yeah, but
time,
it's
like
okay.
maybe failing
Yeah,
inability to check an HTTP request.
yeah. I am concerned that some sort of time, like we'll just add a timeout to it, and if it times out after a second, then
Then just don't do the
we'll just
check.
skip. Yeah, we'll just skip the rest of it. Something along those
Alrighty.
lines. So let's go. I'm just trying to take you on a little tour here, so you can see kind of how it's all put together. Let's go ahead and go back to
Sure.
that main.go. And inside of here, you see that it's issuing subcommand.execute, whatever subcommand is. So subcommand line 32. Yep.
Got it.
So in Go, when you see subcommand.execute like this, it's telling you that subcommand is a package name and execute is a function that is declared inside of that package.
Sure.
Now, I don't know which of those. It's going to be in root.go. I didn't see root.go before, but you can see in subcommand there's a root.go. I would almost guarantee that execute will take you to root.go. Yeah.
I guess we can actually click on it to see where it takes us. I think I have to
Yep.
do a control click in
It
here. Yeah,
generally.
it did take to root.go.
Yep. Makes perfect sense. And so this is the function that will execute when you run and compile and run your main.go program.
Right.
So here you can see there's now line 68, an execution of root, whatever root is. And now before 2 seconds ago, I said this looks like it could be a package, and it could be a package named root, but it could also be some sort of structure named root. So you hovered over it already, and you
Okay,
can
so
see
thing is always a method, but or function declared on the first thing. But the first thing could either be a package or it could be a struct, which is
that's
like a class
that's right.
instance.
That's right. Yep. So if you hover over that root or control click on it again and bring it to wherever it is, you'll see var root is a Cobra command. So this is an execute function declared on the root object, which is going to be declared in this inside of this package. So you go ahead
Yep.
and also notice casing. Casing in Go is incredibly important. Root here is defined with lowercase. That means
Right.
every file within the subcommand directory will be able to access a variable named root because you have declared it in any of the files that are in this folder. So if you go to any other of those Go files that are in subcommand, you will have a root available to you. Now, execute, however, is marked with a capital E. That means it's public. So if you are outside of the root, or sorry, of the subcommand package, you can run execute. If you were to go back to main.go now and try to access that root, you can't because it's private to the package. And that's how Go does its scoping.
Okay, this sounds important. Let me make sure I can spit it back at you. in Go, case is not only Go the syntax is not only case sensitive, but case is meaningful, and not only by convention. The what the first letter being well, the fact that it's all lowercase means that the lexical scope of this variable that's being defined is the entire package in which it is defined. So
So it
it's
it doesn't define the package, and it's not relevant
right
that
here,
the end it doesn't define the package. The package is the name of the folder, effectively. If you
subcommand.
Yeah, go to the top of this file,
All
and you'll
right,
see line 17. So this has declared the package to be subcommand. Everything in this
sure.
subdirectory will need to be called subcommand. That's the package. And another thing you said is that all of the letters are lowercase. Totally not relevant. All that's relevant is the first, like look right there, so right there, right there. Look at line 38. The first, the first letter is the only important letter.
Okay.
So if
And
the
it's not by
first,
convention. It's meaningful inside the compiler.
for sure, yeah. If
Okay.
you were to change that little s to a capital S, everything else will need to be changed along with it to refer to capital S. And then on top of
Yes.
that, back in main.go, you'll now have access to subcommand.capital SVC, capital poll, capital rate flag. Right now in
Hmm.
main.go, because it's in an entirely different package, you have no accessibility to the service poll rate flag. It's hidden from you. So if you were to go into main.go and try to type subcommand.service poll flag, you won't find it. But you could type subcommand.execute because execute is public. It has a capital letter.
All right.
And so like
So make sure I heard you correctly.
looking through these lines like line 44, let's look at line 44. So we have a private variable declared as root, which invokes a public function called persistent flags,
Okay.
which invokes a public function on whatever is returned from persistent flags called bool p,
Hmm.
and so
Okay.
on and so forth
So lowercase is private, uppercase is public.
for the
Private
package.
means that it's available in that package or below,
Nope,
like its
just that
children. It's
package.
not
Nope.
not heritable. Okay, so it's only at the same level,
Yep,
whereas public means everywhere, truly
that's right.
global.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
And it is just the scope of the variable or thing, whatever object is being defined.
Well, like, for example, if it's a package, packages are available globally. So, just like you were seeing before in the main.go, you referenced subcommand, and subcommand was lowercased. So you can reference packages. That packages are declared globally. Variables are declared um, scoped to the package itself, not
Okay.
global. So you can refer to any package which will have lowercase letters. So it is somewhat confusing. When you look at root.persistent flags like that, without knowing what root is, you don't know if root is a package or if root is a private declared variable. It could be either. And in this case, it just happens to be it's a private declared variable.
Sure.
Okay, cool. So what we probably want to do is in main.go, probably way back up in main.go, we probably want to make a new function that will fetch the version from GitHub for this particular entity.
All right. We're using the convention seems to be
It is
camel
camel
case.
casing. Yep. And I'm pretty sure Go will even tell you it won't compile. Like if you put an underscore V,
It'll enforce that. Okay.
yeah, Go's formatting is very strict like that, strict into the compiler. So this is going to fetch our version. So now what we're going to need is probably some constant declared. It's going to be used one place, so it doesn't matter how you define it. But you could define a string right here on line 36 that will represent the URL that you're going to go fetch the version from.
All
And
right.
so in GitHub, that's generally like api.github. Whatever.
Okay.
I'm going to go try to
It's
find.
maybe a quoted string.
Yeah. Oh, so that's another interesting thing. Go also supports string literals, which is nice. So if you have, like, say, a backslash in your string, you can use the tick, the same thing that we use in Slack or Markdown, to represent a string, a code block, for example. You can use a string literal and bake in characters that needed to be escaped. So, like, backslashes, quotes, that sort of stuff. It's all inside of the tick.
Here's the URL we want.
Cool.
And the JSON response that comes back, the tag name property has the symver that we're looking for latest.
Yep. Yeah. So what we'll end up doing here is soaking up the entire response from GitHub, and then piping it into something that knows how to turn JSON into
Yep.
something that's usable. Also note
Is there
right here,
something? Go ahead.
something interesting to note. Go is really good about realizing when you have defined a variable and not used it. So line 36 shows up as an error. That's perfectly fine. It just means that you're not using this thing yet, and Go has noticed it. And Go won't let
Right.
you commit that,
Okay.
which is
All right.
kind of aggressive, but nice.
Sure.
All right, so now you have your version URL. Now you'll need to make an HTTP request for to return a response from GitHub. So Go has lots of nice packages like the HTTP package that you can just use, and I believe it has a get function declared on it. So we're going to use that, and there's your get. There you go. And then you're going to pipe in your version URL, probably as your parameter to this. And now that version URL will stop being marked as a problem. Also, you'll see here that you haven't actually assigned the response to anything in your code on line 39. What if you hover over get? What does get return? Get returns an HTTP response and an error. So as you can see before, we talked about having a tuple, so you can have a response. Yeah, perfect. Now, in Go, you have to either previously have declared response an error or use the colon equals operator. There you go. And it still looks like it's a problem. Why is that? Well, we haven't
Because
used response.
we
That's right.
haven't expanded response or error yet. We haven't
Yep,
done anything with them.
exactly. So now go ahead and do the quintessential if error doesn't equal nil or equals nil or whatever you want to do.
So it looks like the response comes back as an object that includes both the body and the HTTP code. That's what I would expect, something like that.
Yep.
Are we going to check
But
the HTTP code to make sure it was okay?
sure, we can do that too. But the first thing we'll need to do is check that the error hasn't actually triggered, that there's no reason, something unreasonable. And it's usually if error doesn't equal nil, then log fatal or log the standard error or whatever.
Sorry, first time writing an if statement for Go. What's the syntax?
You're doing great. Doesn't equal,
Does not.
exclamation point equal, nil, NIL, and then
Wait, so
open.
is nil synonymous with false?
Nil is synonymous with there is nothing here. It's like Java's null. It's like
So 0 is true. Good. Success.
0 is not true, and it's not 1 and 0. It is literally nothing. So if you want a 1 or a 0, then you would not return an error from your function. You would return a Boolean or you would return an int. This is the lack of a value. So
Lack of an error.
it's the lack of anything. In this case, since it's an error, it means there was no error returned.
Okay.
And Go oftentimes expects functions to be very tolerant of nil, so you can receive a panic in Go, just like you can have a null pointer exception in C or in Java or any other language really that uses null. You can have a nil pointer exception where you're returning nil, but Go has pointers. Go also has reference types. If you're using a reference type and it's not going to be able to be nillable, or it's going to be expected that that thing is able to be nil. So generally speaking, nil is relatively safe. But if you have a pointer declared and you try to access, say, a function on the pointer, you will get a nil pointer exception. So here we're going to be, might want to zoom in. No, it's it's perfectly clear.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, this is perfect. No, this is just the right level of zoom.
Right.
So here, if the error is not returned, if there's no error returned, we're going to actually, yeah, if it's not nil, if it's not empty, we're going to print whatever the error is and then exit. A really easy way to do that for now is to just type the word panic, put a brace. Now we're going to use a curly brace and then hit the enter key. Go is very particular about its formatting, and then just do a panic and then open a paren and then error, ERR. Perfect. And that's, so now the error has been used. If there's any kind of error, it'll just panic and that's fine. So now we have to do something with that response. And this is where you wanted to
Mhm.
test that the response is, say, 200. So if you do
Right.
a if on this, if response dot, I think it's probably going to be code dot
So it's going to be an object
code. I would imagine it's going to be status
status
code.
code.
Yep, perfect.
So this is super helpful. It actually knows what get can return.
Oh, sure. Oh,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Oh, it's a statically typed language as opposed to, say, Python, right? And so every function that you invoke will be type inferenced. That's what that means is the compiler and the IDE will look at the function itself and will know what kind of type is returned from that function, and will provide you that sort of handy dandy code completion that you're looking at there. So
Right.
here we're going to want that status code to be above 200 and less than 300. That's a classic way of doing it. No, so you don't want to do undo what you just did. So the status code, I did you type the parentheses or did it add them for you? Because I thought that this was
I
going.
started typing.
Yeah, take off the parentheses because status code. If you control click on status code, it'll bring you to the definition. It should just be like an int. Yeah, I can see it's an int. So so you can see here, status code is not a function, and because it's not a function, it does not get the parentheses. This is just a regular struct
I
with,
see.
and all structs are just quote unquote regular structs like that. They are just holders of memory, and then what you can do in Go is you can basically slap a function around that structure using that syntax that we saw before, where you define a function and you say, "Hey,
Mhm.
Go, this function is actually for these kinds of types." It's not really like it's not
Okay.
object oriented, but it's kind of
It's very
it borders
similar.
on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
It's
borders
like a
on it.
class definition
Yeah, and it's but like there's no inheritance to be
with
found.
only attributes.
Yeah,
And then you
so
can
let's go ahead and
apply the structure to a you said you can, right, you can apply the structure to a function definition in order to add methods to that structure.
you can apply a function definition to a structure to add functions to a structure. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and go back to the main.go program again. And so now we're going to say if the response status code is greater than, and in Go, that's going to be the greater than sign. And I'd probably do greater than or equals to 200 because 200 is an acceptable response. And with a double and shift sevens, two and, yep. And response dot status code is less than 300. Yep. And then we're going to do a little curly brace and hit enter. Okay. And then personal preference, I always add the else inside of here. But also, since when I do this, I'm like, oh, geez, I am now putting my expected response into this if block. if I were to change the if statement around, I could only keep my exceptional stuff into the block, and then I don't even need an else statement. So I would probably at this point rewrite line 43 to say if the response status code is less than 200 or it's greater than or equal to 300. Yep. Or exactly less than or equal to 300. I don't know if 300 isn't even a response code, but yeah, greater than or equal to. My bad. Yep. So now I would panic on line 44. I would panic on line 44, and then I would say, I would just put a string in there that says the response code was invalid. Type whatever you want. It doesn't even matter. Invalid response code. Perfect. And then we're going to use percent. We're actually going to use a panic F. So go back to the panic and type panic F. Not with a period, just panic
Panic
F.
F.
Yep.
Okay.
And then let's go. Oh, that's not a function in Go. I know it's a function in Logarithm, but apparently that's not a function of panic. Panic might just format the string for you anyway. Okay, so get rid of the F. So all that F stands for is a formatted string. And I don't know off the top of my head the Go playground. If you've never gone to it, go to the browser real quick,
Okay.
and then go to Go playground. Yep, top hit play.golang.org. There you go.
Give you a
This
little
this thing is
in
called a
browser
REPL.
REPL.
Exactly, in browser REPL. So on line 8, if you were to change the fmt.println to panic, just get rid of the fmt.println to panic, and then let's put now Go will yell at you because you didn't use fmt. Yep. So now you got to remove line fmt. You can just delete that whole line. Now, when you run it, it'll actually panic and say, "Hey, there was a problem running it." Panic, comma, hello playground.
Sure.
But what I wanted to see here is if you put a %s anywhere inside of that panic, and then at the end of the quote here, type comma, and then some other string. Yep. I want to see if it'll do that. No, okay. Panic doesn't take multiple arguments. Well, that's a bummer. I thought for sure that it did that, but apparently not. I'll have to try to find out how that works behind the string here, behind the hood. Oh, you know what? I know what you do. You would do a no. So undo all of this. Go back to just hit refresh on your browser tab. Come back to that beginning, because we'll use It's going to be in the FMT package. So instead, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put a maybe it's a string F, I think. Go back to the IDE. It'll just give you the information. So instead of no, keep panic, keep the panic, and then instead of the quote being delivered to the panic, we're going to use between the parenthesis and the first quote. We're going to type fmt dot string print string print s type print f no s print what is it print s print try s print f. There you go. Like this comes off of my fingers without even my brain thinking about it. So that is print a string that is formatted, and now we'll be able to put a percent inside of this. And
Format
then,
then string.
yeah, so at the end of code, put colon %d. Well, we're going to use d for decimal or number. There you go. Response.status code. Yeah, perfect. And then close the paren up. Perfect. Yep. All right. So now we
Good robot.
have, that's right. Now we have line 46. We're going to add our actual, here's where we're going to actually parse the response. And so inside of this code base, you'll find something called gabs. Can you search this code base for the word GABS? It's from some guy named Jeff something or other.
Just the entire Ziti project?
Yeah, just search everything for a GABS gabs. Yeah, this Jeff Ale guy. See that thing? So
Yeah.
we're gonna take that import because that import allows you to basically slurp JSON.
This was a require statement.
You, yeah, that's okay. Go ahead and go back to your code, main go, and just put that all. Get rid of the v1.40 and put the whole thing in quotes. So the way that Go allows you to specify your dependencies is inside this if block, or sorry, import block that you see, and then it lets you tell Go where in the world the dependency. Just leave it there. It's telling you you're not using it. Remember, Go is very picky about that sort of stuff. It's saying where in the world to go to find this thing and where is the package at. That's what this is basically telling you. So if you go to
Yep.
github.com/jeffal/gabs, it'll land
Mhm.
you at a GitHub repo where there's Go
Yep.
code. And so if you wanted to go there, you could see exactly how to use this code. Whereas there's a section called parsing and searching JSON. And so I would recommend you go there
I
and
don't know why it
let's.
keeps removing it when I save the
Oh,
file.
it's because you have a save action probably that is using it. So go down to below, go down to the very bottom and type gabs dot anywhere on line 47.
Oh, so you mean my IDE was just cleaning it up because
It's
I
doing
wasn't
it on
using
your
it?
behalf. Exactly. It's like, I'm so smart. I'm not going to do it. Yeah. And just put a period. And now it will know that you're using gabs. So go ahead and go to your browser and
Still
go.
removed it.
That's unexpected. Go ahead and go back to the bottom, type consume. Oh wait, it's on line 22. Did you put it
Yeah,
back?
I
Oh,
did a
you put.
control Z undo
Yeah,
to bring it
gotcha,
back.
gotcha. Type the word consume. I saw that was a function. Yep. Just hit enter and see if and now if you see if it does it again.
It
Yeah.
did
Okay.
remove
Good.
it again.
No, it's still there.
Oh, you're right.
It's on line 23. So what it's doing is this is something I do myself. I didn't know VS Code would do this, but it's basically grouped them for you.
Formatting. Yeah.
The first two, this is not a Go thing. I do this myself because I like to know, like for example, I will put the open Ziti imports on a different group. So if this
Right.
was me, I would take 25 and 26 and I would put them after Logorus. I would put a return like a line, a new line, and put them after it, so that I know what are the standard libraries from Go I'm importing, what are the
Right.
external dependencies I'm importing, and what are the p- package dependencies. Yeah, I would do it just like this. That would be how I would push that commit up,
Makes
because
sense.
those are my libraries at the bottom, as opposed to third party, as opposed to quote unquote first party from Go. So if you go to
Sure.
the website now, go to that URL for Gabs, you'll see that it has a how you would parse and search JSON, and
Okay.
hopefully it will just be easy enough for us to figure out. I think you only need the first couple lines there. Go down to parsing and searching. It's like a third of the way down the page. Oh, actually, interesting. So you've gone to package.go.dev, which is where the
Mhm.
doc is, which is cool, but it's not where I'm at. I'm actually on github.com/jeffyl/gabs.
I
But
can click here to go to the
no,
repo.
it's okay. The README is exactly what you need. If you scroll down into the
Okay.
README just a scooch, you'll see it. It should tell you. I wonder if it does it as nicely. Keep going until you see some information about how to use it. No, I'm not. I'm not seeing enough. All right, go ahead and click on the actual GitHub URL. This is better. So what you want to find is the section where it says parsing and searching. Yeah, you've gone back to package again. No, go back forward. Yeah, click on that, and now go down in this one, just like a third of the page, right there.
Using
See it?
modules.
Parsing and searching JSON.
There we go. So the parsed equals parse.
Yep,
Fill it with bytes.
yep. So you'll
Okay.
need to get the bytes from the body. So go ahead and copy that first bit there. Yep. And then instead of gabs.consume, we're going to do gabs.parseJSON. So paste on top of this, right? There you go. Open the paren. And now you need to feed some bytes into here. So there should be response.body would one would expect, maybe. Hit type period. And so now there is the body. Yeah. And is the body okay, so the body is an IO reader, which is
with
not
bytes.
going is there with bytes?
Yeah, it says it's bytes. Parse.
No, no, no.
Oh,
That's
that's
what
saying
that's what
parse JSON expects bytes.
that's right. Yeah. But response.body is an IO reader. So you need to like do an IO
Uh-huh.
util. So take that response.body and cut it and replace it with go ahead and cut response.body and type IO util dot read read all. I, I would imagine read all returns bytes. Yep. And then paste in your body. That should work. No? So I have something wrong. What does read all want? Too many arguments. Okay, so here's another case where I would imagine read all is returning an error. Go ahead and go to show me what read all. Yeah. So see, read all returns bytes, but it also returns an error. So
Okay.
now a constant thing that you'll do in Go is you'll take that io-util.readAll response.body, cut that out, and go up a line and assign it to some variable a line up.
Okay,
So
sure.
bytes comma error. Yep. There you go. Perfect. And so one of the things that you'll see exactly now, one of the things I particularly don't like about Go is you are able to reuse that error, which is good and bad in my opinion. Because if you test error for nilness or for not nilness,
Right.
sometimes I have screwed this up myself where I
Uh,
meant I didn't I might not
you forgot
have
to assign it.
or something along those lines. So sometimes I'll use a different error here, but you don't have to at all.
I understand.
Um, so this all looks good. Now we have some JSON. Obviously, testing for error would be great. We can do that after. Let's go ahead and
But we're running out
look
of
at.
time.
I can see that we got 7 minutes. So go ahead and go back to the document, and you'll see that you can do a search to find a particular value that you want. It's right under your mouse. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or the JSON parsed path actually also is a good one. So that first one is the one I was looking at, the dot path function. That's
Mhm.
really that's like your JQ that you were running before. So just copy that whole
Yeah.
entire line, except you're not going to want float 64. You'll probably want a string. So just
So
copy
just
that.
get the data out, and then we probably don't need to transform it beyond that.
Probably not. Yeah. I mean, it might be. We'll see what the data returns. It might return a
Yeah.
byte, but
Hopefully that's a string.
if it is, then we're good to go. What
Okay,
is
so get
data? Yeah, what is data return?
data.
It's the wrong assignment count. Why is it telling you that? JSON parsed dot path. That's all good. No, no, no. It's not going to be that. That won't be relevant. Yeah. Let's see what does it think the error is. Like I want to see what does data. If you hover over data again, cannot assign one value to two variables. So it doesn't take an OK anymore. It just returns an interface.
We're we're
So
filtering the output of this. We're piping it to the data function. So we're not
yeah.
necessarily returning both of these.
Oh, you know what it is? It's going to be it's because of the cast at the end. Go ahead and put at the end of data, do a period, open parentheses, string. String. Yep. It's the small one. Yep. Okay. So the cast, which is what you've just done, is apparently what is returning two variables, the value as well as an error, whether or not the cast worked. And so at this point, let's go ahead and replace line 38 with, instead of subcommand.execute, let's just call fetch version and see if this all works. So put a no, undo what you just did. Put a put a comment in front of line 38. That's two slashes and go at the beginning of the line. Just comment it out. Yeah, two slashes. There you go. Two slashes. And then after this, we're just going to call fetch version, no subcommand. Yep. Now you're going to have to use value and OK, otherwise it won't build. But go ahead and consume value and consume OK. A lot of times, what you'll see is since this is returning the OK, you know that it's a Boolean. That well, if you do this, that is okay. But I would probably print them both just to consume them. So I would do a println, PRINTLN. Yep, and then just put in JSON or value and then println OK. Now you're going to have to do them in two separate lines. Yeah, and get rid of your return statement. I don't know why it doesn't like your println. Apparently, println wants to be a string. So let's do a println format dot. Oh, there it goes. Okay, good. It does take an interface. So now if you should be able to run this and or actually debug it. Maybe debugging it would be better.
Alrighty.
We're so close.
We are close. And we're in the Ziti project. So I'm going to, I think we're waiting for my CPU now. Oh, looks like running. It's just trying to make itself available for running. Okay, so I need to add a debugger configuration here in this project for Go. What do we
Launch file, I
launch
believe.
file?
Yep.
Yeah. So I'll just save that. And then we want to run main.
Yep.
Because we changed what happens when you run main to just run fetch version.
Exactly.
So we can, okay. Launch file, play. We should get
If you drop a breakpoint on
debugger.
52 real fast, I think it'll just blow through this. Yeah. Oh, there you go. It already told you it worked. Great. I was going to debug on it, but it's cool. So what you've done is you've successfully fetched the version number from GitHub. Now what we can do really quickly is we'll be able to type down below where the println OK is. Go ahead and stop this.
Stopped.
Yep, we're on line 54, 55. After that last println, let's add another println.
Okay.
And this time we're going to add a println that just prints open paren version dot get get version, not go version, get version. Type a V, see what happens. Yeah, perfect. And let's run this one now.
Ready? I'm going to hit play.
Do it.
So the
I think
debugger opens
we might
up.
just slide this in, Ken. This is going to be really
We
close.
might.
Because we're almost there. Go ahead and play it through.
So we have okay, I'll just tell it to continue.
Yep. Yeah, just go ahead and play it through. And we'll see what does the value. I need to see the output though. Where's standard error or standard out?
I might have to open it back up.
Yeah, it's somehow gone. Where did it go? All right, we're gonna
Looks
run
like
long.
it finished. I
but you don't see. I need to see the terminal output.
Here
There
we
you
go.
All right, so this, because you have built it locally, has determined
always
its. That's right. But you could see that if this were built from the CI stack with the correct version number and all that stuff, you have everything you need now. All you have to do is add another println that says, "Hey, a new update is available. Go and update." And you're like this close to having this done.
Yeah, I can just adjust the logic here for any other conditions that present themselves, and then print something helpful if
Yep.
in fact. So now,
And
right now
now
we've got
this
it
is
defined under main.
I was going to go there.
fetch version, but I could just transplant this over to a new subcommand and wire it in.
You could. You could also transplant this over to the SDK Golang project, which all of the CLI gizmos operate on. And then in each of these subcommands that you'll see, can you in your left hand pane? Can you scroll up just a tiny bit? This will be the last thing that we talk about. But
Okay.
each of those commands, ZD, ZD controller, ZD fabric, ZD router, ZD tunnel, all of these guys right here, they all will use the SDK Golang. So if you
Right.
define this particular function, like say check for
Hmm.
updates inside of
Yeah.
the SDK Golang, well then you could come in here and instead of running
Oh,
subcommand.execute first, you could say, SDK.check for updates and off it goes.
right. Okay.
All right. Well, I think that's going to
So
end up
that would be
wrapping.
a minor change to each of those subcommands, and it would
Yeah,
check for the version of that particular. It's got to compare it against some release artifact in GitHub
that's right.
or some URL.
For sure, for sure. And so you could see in where you had added the URL as a string, you would probably add a function that returns that value and then invoke that function amongst the other projects so that they all could do the same sort of thing. But for your specific case for ZD Tunnel, this would work perfectly for ZD Tunnel.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, we
All right.
brought it in just right
I
at
think
an
we just
hour.
slide, yeah, it's like an hour and 2 minutes, but I think that counts, right? I think that really counts. All right, cool. Well, you learned a lot of Go along the way, so that's good, and hopefully it was entertaining. I know I enjoyed myself. So,
Yeah.
cool.
Too.
All
Thanks,
right.
Clint.
See you, Ken.
I'll
See
see you next
everybody next
time.
time.